Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's GBay99. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today, we're back with another video where today I want to take some time to talk to you guys a little bit about the history of League, the history of Dota, the history of the MOBA genre as a whole, and something I'd like to call the missing MOBA link. So, as many of you guys know who watch my videos, I've played League of Legends for a very long time. I started playing back in 2010, which was a very interesting year to watch MOBAs and watch the entire scene and genre as a whole sort of evolve. You had all these games promising they were going to be the next Dota All-Stars, trying to compete with each other to eventually compete for what we would now know is an incredibly profitable genre of video games. Right now we know that Riot has 100 million monthly players for League of Legends, and they make $1 billion a year, I believe, at this point. Like, it's incredible how successful this new genre has become, and even not League of Legends, even the other games out there that are still very popular and very successful, like Dota 2, like Smite. We've had all these games back in 2010 and around these years just popping up and trying to see if they could garner their audience that would take them to where they are today. Some of them were immensely successful. League of Legends and Smite, for instance, were games that did their best to sort of differentiate themselves from the Dota formula, where they tried to add their own mechanics, remove Dota mechanics, or sometimes do something completely in general. Obviously, Smite with its third-person view is very different to what we're used to seeing in general when we take a look at this genre. Other games, on the other hand, like Heroes of Newerth, would sometimes fail. Heroes of Newerth was a game that did its best to be like as Dota-esque as possible, just copying everything they possibly could from Dota, which would eventually drive it out of business when Dota 2 came out. Dota 2, obviously, still very successful as well. Today, I want to take some time to talk to you guys a little bit about one of these games, though, that unfortunately never succeeded, although that wasn't really due to a lack of fun or innovation, and that's a game called Bloodline Champions. Bloodline Champions came out around the time League of Legends did, sometime around 2009, 2010, and it had a pretty big audience for a while. Chances are, if you played League back then, you probably remember at least hearing about this game. It was at a number of tournaments that League was at, every DreamHack and whatnot. It would also have a spot on the main stage for all its competitive scene. A lot of the competitive players that you've seen throughout the years, or just high-rated players in general, in plenty of different games, at one point played Bloodline Champions. For instance, Hafu, a lot of you guys know Hafu. She played League for a spell and also is obviously a very big Hearthstone streamer now. She was a competitive pro Bloodline Champions player. Mithy, the support for G2, actually played Bloodline Champions competitively as well. So this is a game that's had a rich history in esports and had just a rich history in MOBAs in general. It was around for quite a long time. About 2 years it went on pretty strong, but eventually started dwindling in its player base. Right now, technically, you can still play it. I believe the servers are still up, but only really have like 40 people playing at a time, so the game is virtually dead, unfortunately, which is really a shame. The gameplay, as you guys can probably tell, took the idea of a MOBA, but sort of threw it into a WoW arena kind of setting, where you had the idea of a MOBA where you had all these different champions that each had a number of abilities. You had more abilities than League of Legends, where you would typically have 4 or maybe 5 abilities with your Q, E, R, and spacebar, and then you also had an ultimate ability along with a left and right click ability. So you had a few more abilities than the typical 4 you generally see in a MOBA game, but that's mostly because you had 2v2s, 3v3s. Things had to be a little more exciting if you're going to have less players, and in general, it's sort of structured like WoW arenas, where you just do your best to battle it out to the death, kill your opponents, and win the round. Best 3 out of 5 won the match, and then if you're in a tournament setting or something, best 2 out of 3 matches would advance. The gameplay was really fun and exciting for the most part. It was a very high-octane kind of MOBA game on steroids, where you just cut out all the farming, you cut out all the running around for 40 minutes trying to build up your character, and just jumped right into the match. It's a very exciting team fight sort of scenario where everything is constantly going on and you're fighting to the death, so it's a pretty exciting, high-octane kind of game. Unfortunately, it did end up dying away. I was kind of befuddled when I found out the game just sort of slowly died. I would eventually stop playing it, but that was just to focus on getting as good at League of Legends specifically as possible. as I was devoting my time to too many games at the moment, I felt. I never thought that the gameplay wasn't fun enough or innovative enough to survive in the world of MOBA, so I really did get bummed out when I learned the game had died. There were probably a couple of different things that contributed to the game's downfall, like you guys are watching some spectator mode gameplay right now, which isn't the most exciting, obviously. I mean, I haven't played the game in a very long time, and this does not feel as exciting and fun as I remember the game being back when I played it. It didn't make for the best spectator sport, I guess, which being a game that's mostly focused on multiplayer competition, that probably contributed to its downfall quite a bit. It was also a game that didn't quite cater to the easy to learn, hard to pick up style that a lot of MOBA games at the time were really trying to embrace to grow a large audience, and that's probably another reason the game didn't really succeed, but eventually the game died away. However, the developers started to work on a spiritual successor that just came out the other day. This is Battle Right, just like Bloodline Champions, combining the 2v2, 3v3 style of World of Warcraft arenas with the MOBA champions of today in a very interesting, very fun setting. This just came out on Steam earlier this week, where I'm not entirely sure where the game is. I think it's in like a closed beta or open beta or early access kind of deal, where basically the game's going to be free to play, but right now it's in like a beta, so if you pay $17 to buy it on Steam, then you'll get every champion forever, but if you want to wait, you can just wait until it's free to play. And then I think they have a similar free to play system as League of Legends, where you earn currency through the game, or you can just buy it, although they also have chests, sort of like Overwatch. Maybe that'll be how you get champions. I'm not entirely sure how that all works, but anyway, I've been playing this a lot recently, and I kind of wanted to make a video on it. This is a very interesting part of MOBA history, where it sort of refused to die, and definitely for the better. I always thought that Bloodline Champions was a game that deserved to succeed, because it was probably the game that tried to put the biggest spin on the MOBA genre. I don't even know if you can call this a MOBA, a multiplayer online battle arena, even though this is probably a game that deserves the arena title more so than any other MOBA out there. It's a game that's structured very similarly to Bloodline Champions, but it is streamlined a lot more, so it's easier to learn and easier to pick up while still having a pretty high level of difficulty to master. There's a lot of fun gameplay with all these different unique champions. I mean, for the most part, unique champions. There are some characters here that are very reminiscent of League of Legends characters. This guy, for instance, is very Kassadin-esque. I mean, he looks a lot like Kassadin, and he even has an R ability that kind of does what Kassadin's R does. The game is mostly focused on this non-stop team fighting kind of idea, where you have the 2v2 is the main mode that most people play, where you have all these different characters that you can run different comps. You can run double DPS, a DPS support, 2 supports. You can try and play the game in different ways, but for the most part, you're trying to use your champion that you picked beforehand to just win a team fight. Best 3 out of 5 in the same way Bloodline Champions was, and it's a very fun and exciting kind of gameplay. Now let me say something here briefly before I continue. For those of you who don't know, right now on YouTube, it is illegal for me to make a sponsored video and not tell you guys in the title and description that that video is sponsored. It is actually illegal now for you to do that, for me to try and hide the fact that I'm getting paid to promote a video. So let me say that's not a mistake that I did not put sponsored in the title of this video. That's not a mistake that I did not put sponsored in the description, or that I'm not telling you guys this is sponsored. This is not a sponsored video. I am not making this video because I am getting paid to do so. This game is honestly just really fun, and I honestly feel a little bit scared this is going to be another fun game that's sort of lost to the depths of all the MOBA clones that we've seen throughout the years. If I'm speaking with you guys on a personal note for a moment here, I think gaming has made me a lot more cynical over the past year or so. I mean, I feel like 2016 was really not a good year for games. We did have some really awesome releases. You know, we had some absolutely fantastic games come out. I mean, a lot of you guys love Overwatch. I played Overwatch for a little bit. I eventually did get bored of it myself, but it is still a very, I mean, I can respect that Overwatch is a very fun and exciting game that did come out, but it sort of felt like for every Overwatch we had, we'd have something like No Man's Sky, right? That was just a non-stop disappointment, non-stop developers misleading their consumers, and just ended up being not good at all. There really weren't many games that that I feel like delivered on the hype that they generated this year, and even not that many games that I got all that hyped for. There are a couple still coming up like Persona 5, but maybe this is just recency bias with all the No Man's Sky hate that's been going on lately. The reason I bring both of those things up is, I don't know about you guys, but for me it's become really easy to get cynical about video games in general, but especially a lot of the video games that we've seen in the MOBA community. I mean, within all the MOBA clones out there, for every Adventure Time battle party that we see, there are very few games that really try and do anything truly different, and so it's really easy to miss a lot of them. And I think this is an instance of a game that I don't want to see it die the way that Bloodline Champions did. You know, maybe I'm making this video for selfish reasons now that I think about it, that I want to see this game succeed because it really feels like it truly deserves to. You know, the developers didn't just make another Dawn Gate, make another game that has the same MOBA formula we've seen so long and for so many games in a row now. It really tried to do something different, and it really feels exciting in a fun new way that we haven't seen in a really long time. So although I am not any sort of video game reviewer, or I certainly haven't been one for a very long time, this is a game that I really give a big recommendation to you guys to definitely check out, because it's a game that's very, very exciting and fun in all the right ways. The history of MOBAs is filled with non-stop clones that do nothing but try and cash in on success that's already been built. This feels like the first original idea that we've seen in a very long time that's definitely worth a look and is a very exciting, fun game that I would suggest picking up. Again, this video isn't sponsored, although it is sort of a non-stop advertisement, but anyway, we'll get back to our normal League of Legends stuff tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble about this stuff for a little while. I'll see you all soon, but until next time, thank you very much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.